Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, the 13th chapter.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus put before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to someone who sowed good seed in his field. But while everybody was asleep, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat, and then went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared as well. And the slaves of the householder came and said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where then did these weeds come from? He answered, An enemy has done this. The slave said to him, Then do you want us to go and gather them? But he replied, No, for in gathering the weeds you would uproot the wheat along with them. Let both of them grow together until the harvest. And at harvest time I will tell the reapers, Collect the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn. Then he left the crowds and went into the house. And the disciples approached him, saying, Explain to us the parable of the weeds of the field. He answered, The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man, the field is the world, and the good seed are the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. Just as the weeds are collected and burned up with a fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will collect out of his kingdom all causes of sin and all evildoers, and they will throw them into the furnace of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Let anyone with ears listen. The Gospel of the Lord. Well, if you happened to be in church last Sunday, you wouldn't even have to be here at Prince of Peace, right? We follow a lectionary, and so many churches are following the same readings. So if you're on vacation and you're in church even, you would know that last week's Gospel was also about seeds. Of course, for this week, we get the added bonus of having weeds growing alongside of the seeds as a fun metaphoric twist. Despite the fact that I think that the seed image is completely overused by Jesus, and trust me, in the upcoming weeks we get the seed over and over and over again, and you will see Pastor Steve and I trying to figure out what more we could possibly say about a seed. The parable raises some of the most challenging and problematic issues in theological thought. Where does evil come from? What punishments exist for those who do evil? And what shall we do about evil? These are not easy questions. And they are not questions that I can adequately address in a 10-minute sermon. It's also fairly clear from this parable that it's not my job to place myself in God's position. However, like the disciples, there are plenty of circumstances which I feel I can accurately determine what is good and what is bad. I can figure out what's the weed and what's the wheat. In our scripture today, the disciples already know what they think about the weeds that grow in their midst. And they think they have a pretty clear idea about what should be done with them. Rip them out. It seems pretty clear. However, the disciples do something really, really smart, despite their natural inclinations. Almost as if they know that this isn't what Jesus would have them do. They beg Jesus to explain the parable of the weeds. Whether they realize it or not, when they do this, they are asking Jesus to explain himself, to talk about what it's like to follow in the ways of Jesus. When Jesus first tells the parable, he voices our assumptions. If there are weeds growing along with the wheat, then we should pull out the bad things. Somehow we assume that we're able to discern with the certainty of God what is good and what is bad. However, even more to the point, we assume with certainty that we know who is good and who is bad. But Jesus cautions us, and he says, just wait. Let the two grow together. At harvest time, the weeds will be removed and the wheat will be gathered. And then the really interesting point to me is the gospel says, but the servant didn't understand. Which is funny, right? Because the farmer would understand. A farmer would wait until harvesting time to deal with the weeds, because otherwise the wheat would be destroyed. The farmer knows that patience is crucial when it comes to bringing about good things. But we, us, the servants of God, we aren't always patient or cautious or tolerant. And sometimes we aren't even patient, cautious, or tolerant in the name of God. We want God to fix this, and then we will be more faithful. Or we want God to fix that, and then we can have more joy. We want God to help with whatever it is, and then we'll have more peace. We want God to rip out the weeds in our lives, and God doesn't do them. God waits. God is patient. God is tolerant. God is a farmer, cultivating good things in his field. And if you'll notice, the weeds and the wheat aren't in different fields. They aren't on different plains. They aren't on different sides of the world. It's the same field, the same soil, and the same farmer. So I want to explore this truth that there's no separation between the weeds and the wheat. When Jesus uses such a general image, he opens it up to having many possibilities in terms of symbolism, right? It could be individuals or rulers or communities or countries. But regardless on the symbolic assignment, the crux of the parable is that they are co-located. I mean, why does God allow the bad to mix with the good? The undesirable to be close to the desirable. We expect heaven and hell to be separated, evil and good to be distinguishable, and there to be no gradation between light and dark. But that isn't how it is in this story. And ironically, that isn't how it is in real life either. So Jesus must know a thing or two about what he's talking about. So if I were to say to you right now, where does hell on earth exist right now? Where does sin lurk right now? Or who embodies evil? And we could all come up with answers in our heads, right? We have our own personal thoughts. And some of us would agree, and some of us wouldn't agree. This week, I was listening to a radio broadcast from the city of Mosul. And there was this interesting exchange between the news reporter and two unidentified Iraqi men about the difficulty of getting food and water and aid to those in need. So the sheikhs gathered tens of thousands of dollars from rich businessmen and brought food and water across the country. So the reporter asked these two unidentified Iraqi men why the government wasn't supplying those things. And one man's answer was, the government is poor, and they're doing the best they can. And the other man's answer was, they're thieves. They're taking everything. So is the government corrupt or not? Are they doing the best they can or not? Are the intentions of those providing food and water pure or not? Is the city liberated or not? From the perspective of many, this place is a living hell, overgrown with weeds of many different types. But it's also true that there are stories from the very same field about American and Iraqi forces working together to treat civilians who are wounded and malnourished and traumatized. Now, no one would categorize this place as heaven on earth, but it's also true that it's not completely subsumed by hell either. It may be overgrown with evil, but it's not without new buds of hope sprouting forth. I think it's possible that sometimes only the farmer can see that, though. When I was a kid, I did something that I assume all of you have done. I would pick flowers and I would bring them to my mom, right? Because she was the very best mom in the whole wide world. And when I was picking my bouquet of my lovely flowers, I would also gather in that bouquet what we call wishing flowers, right? And I would take a deep breath and blow on these big puffy flowers. And some people call them weeds or dandelions, right? Which are they? Are they flowers or weeds? When you're 5 years old, they're flowers. They're good and they're beautiful. And then I grow up and I learn that they're weeds. But when my child brings me one, it's a flower. It's not a weed. Sometimes just crossing from one field into another turns one from a plant into a weed. When I was picking a field to talk about, I picked Mosul on purpose because I felt it would be a less controversial topic and still allow us to access this hard truth. Most of us begin learning the rules of who belongs and who doesn't belong, who is good and who isn't, who deserves to die and who doesn't, who should go to prison and who shouldn't, at a very young age, almost by osmosis. As I said at the beginning, this is a really hard parable when you begin applying it to everyday life. But our understanding of God pushes us hard to look for life among the dead and to recognize that God is very near to those who are in the midst of hell and that God lives among the weeds. Our whole faith is proclaimed in a cross, one of the most hellish, evil, and insidious devices ever planted on the earth. I would be hard-pressed to differentiate the line between heaven and hell, good and bad, just and evil in relation to the cross. On the cross, when Jesus says, "You'll be with me in paradise," heaven is the with me part, right? But right alongside this, in the same very breath, the death part, that's the hell part. And we get to participate in eternity with every breath and heartbeat. So every kind word or selfish act, it's an investment into eternity, which is why we don't just pull up the weeds. In the strange world of this parable, separation is graciously postponed because it may just be possible for flowers, for weeds to become flowers. And it's not too much to hope for, perhaps, that a noxious sinner like me could also, in God's plan, be a place of transformation for someone else. The cross says it's possible. And actually more astounding, the cross says that that is true. That Jesus believes all people, all races, all sexes, all ages, all religions, can live together, grow together without choking out one another. That somehow we are all wheat, bread for the world.